Hello team, welcome to another video with the Mango method. We're going to spend this video looking at the core financial model. So our core financial model, we're going to do a brief run through and overview of the model. So looking at navigation in the model, looking at the inputs, outputs, looking at the broad model flows and just how information flows from actuals all the way to final presentation in the model. And then there will be other videos looking at different sections in the model, so different drivers in the model, as well as separate videos looking through worked examples of how to use these sections for specific scenarios that come up. So, give us a like and a subscribe. Keep your eyes peeled and you'll be notified of further content that looks at how to maximize usage of the financial model. So this is the core model in full, not the simplified version. There's a separate video for that if you're interested. But let's delve into it. So this is a core financial model. It's built in Excel. There's a bit of VBA in the back end to help with a bit of automation, but it is an Excel file at the end of the day. So noting that, standard Excel rules apply. So you can navigate around using your Activate toggle, which is a right click on the left and right arrows here, and then double clicking or clicking OK gets you to the desired sheet, or alternatively click the tab name that you're familiar with. Also, top left A1 cell on any sheet will get you to a table of contents, and any click onto the name or will take you to the relevant sheet as well. One final one is if you click on the view and navigation, it'll bring up the Excel navigation pane, which will give you a listing of sheets, objects. It's quite handy in the newer versions of Excel. So that's navigation. In terms of inputs and outputs, it's quite simple in the model. There's really only two types of styles in the model. It's either an input or an output. If we jump into our input sheet, you'll see there's a light gold fill cell. So anything that's in the light gold fill cell is an input of some sort. So we've got our headers, labels, or our actual input numbers. These could be dollars, percentages. It'll be based on what the section driver is using. So broadly, inputs, light gold fill cells. Outputs are anything other. So you'll see if we try to make an input onto any white background fill or really anywhere else in the model, you'll receive a locked error. The intent is to keep the integrity of formulas and the structure of the model and allow inputs only in the input section of the model. So that's inputs, outputs. In terms of model flows, so the model is built on a mapping framework. So mapping is a crucial part of all sections in the model, actually, actuals, forecasts, as well as a middle step. So if we start with the middle, so this is what we call our source of truth, or our SOT, if we refer to it like that. It is the consolidator of information. So this is the central location where actuals, once mapped, get delivered. So when we say mapped, we mean actuals coming from a source financial package might be in more granularity. So you could have quite a lot of granular detail that you don't want to see one for one when you run a financial model, but you still want the data available in the back end in case you do eventually want to break out the line item into more granularity for modeling purposes. And often when we build a model, that's how we do it. We'll start with a higher level of granularity, focus on the 80-20. So a lot of what we do is around 80-20, focus on the biggest line items that have the greatest impact, and then slowly build out the detail if it becomes relevant. The source of truth is where you'll see actuals in a mapped format connect together with the forecast outputs. The way this works is we have an actuals section. So if I jump into our user controls contains the time series management as well as opening up the historical data input. There's a few options for historical data. We do have automation options, but by default, the core financial model comes with a manual input. You'll see in this one, it's just manual data entry with the ability to add more rows and add more time into the back end. And then once we get the data in here, we will go through what we call a mapping process. So PL map or BS map, so profit and loss mapping actuals versus BS map or balance sheet mapping actuals. Right now, this is all one for one to keep the information simple. But in reality, what we tend to do with a lot of model builds is there will be a full detailed level general ledger with some level of roll up that occurs. So once mapped, and this is done with a Power Query in the back end, the result lands into your SOT. Separate to that, we have our inputs and M outputs. These two work in tandem, so that you'll always find a section that contains an inputs and an outputs, because what will happen is all our inputs that go in here will get mapped into some section or some row or some line item in the financial model, which allows us to scalably build out sections, allows us to scalably add more items without breaking the infrastructure of the model. So this is a core piece that allows us to build quite a very scalable model with drag and drop sections that can be added or taken away from the model. So what happens is our inputs, so on keying into the inputs, some output calculation occurs. The output calculation is then given the mapping, and then the mapping is then taken into our source of truth. Now, this source of truth becomes a core source of truth for all our presentation sections in the model. So you'll see annual financial statements, monthly financial statements, FS12, we call it financial statements focused, or FS12. It's just a 12-month view of the world. A variance section, all of the data in here comes from one source of truth. It will always come from the SOT. The idea being, it's always coming from one source of truth. We can always find the totals or a net check to make sure that the number coming through tallies up somewhere or has been checked against somewhere. And we're not grabbing values from two different sources. And the other benefit of doing it that way is we can readjust financial statements on the fly. So if we don't like how we've placed certain accounts in the financials, it's simply a case of adding a new item from one row to another, and the model will adjust accordingly. So this is the key to the flexibility in the flow of information in our model. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a bit of a brief overview of how a core financial model works. There will be other videos to come, but yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this and learned a little bit about our core financial model. Until the next video, thanks everyone.